Welcome to the Filling the Gap Together podcast.
We are your hosts, Josh
and Krista. Welcome, friends. I'm Krista with Filling the Gap Together podcast, and today we have Ashley. I met her through a mutual friend, and I'm so excited to share her story with you. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay. So I'm ready to just dive right in. I feel like you have a lot going on, a lot that you can share with people and encourage people with. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a pastor at the local church, and I actually work for a very large church with multiple locations. So I'm on the central team. I kind of help oversee everything adult education. So Sunday school,
Okay.
Wednesday night classes, men's and women's ministry. And we just make sure that all the locations are talking to each other. And that we aren't doing double, triple the work when we don't have to. So we can allow our pastors time to pastor and not get stuck in that administrative loophole.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm married. I've been married to my husband, Russell, for, almost 12 years.
Nice.
And we have 4 children who are 9, 8, 5, and 3. 3 of whom joined our family through foster care and adoption.
Which is why I'm so excited to have you here, because obviously that falls right in line with what we're doing. We're so passionate about encouraging and walking alongside of people interested in and also in the throes of foster care and adoption. So how did you get started in foster care?
This is a great story because I am an only child. I only wanted one child, and I told everybody that would listen after I had my son, I am a one and done mom. I was completely fine with him being the only child in our family. I was overwhelmed as a mother at one. I've always been a working mom, and my husband worked away from home when he was a baby. And so I thought, man, I could never take on more than this.
But one is harder. One is harder than more. I'm telling you from my experience, like one is the hardest, and then 1 to 2 is kind of hard for me. 2 to 3, but 3 plus all the way on up to 500. I don't know. I just feel like it's you're dividing yourself no matter what. So you give your whole self to one, or you give your whole self divided up into tiny fragments to everyone, right?
Yes,
so
yes,
one is hard
sure.
because they don't have anyone to bounce anything off of. It's you and you only.
Yeah. So I was definitely hardcore one and done. People would ask my husband all the time, we work for a church, we have a great community. Like, when are you guys going to have more kids? And we were like, we're not, we're good. Like, we're going to enjoy you guys. You have a bunch of babies and we'll rock your babies for you and bring you food, but we are great. And then probably a year and a half before foster care ever crossed my mind, I heard a lesson in Sunday school about praying big prayers and realized I had some things in my life that had kept me from praying big prayers.
Okay.
And so I just started to tell the Lord, like, whatever it is that you want me to do, I'm ready to do it. Like, I'm willing to give up whatever comfort for your will. Like, whatever it is you want me to do with my life, it's yours. And I wasn't ready for what he had, but he started preparing me then. And over a year and a half, I just started saying, like, Lord, would you let me see people the way that you see them? Would you let me be in tune with people that need you? And scrolling on social media, because that's how the Lord talks to us. I saw a story.
Sometimes
I saw a story about 2 boys who were in foster care, and one was 6 and one was 17, and he was about to age out. They were brothers. And the 17-year-old had severe disabilities and was going to be put into a group home and be separated from his brother. And it just broke me. And I begged the Lord that I could be their mom. And I mean, how crazy is that for a one and done? But I was like,
right.
I feel like I need to do something about this.
Because our heart breaks for what breaks the Lord's heart, right?
Yes,
That's why.
yes. And so I just felt so strongly that I was to pray for those boys and pray that I would help them find somebody to reunite them. And the Lord told me it wasn't me. And I was really disappointed. And I thought, why did you give me such a heart for this if I'm not the one to do something about it? And as I kind of worked through that, I realized that he was calling me to the orphan. He was calling me to foster care, not just to these 2 boys in particular, but he gave me a story of siblings being separated because he knew that that would be a part of my story someday. And he made that just part of my heart in that season. And so my husband and I have nieces and nephews that were adopted through foster care. So the idea wasn't totally foreign to us, but we just always thought, man, if we ever foster, it'll be teenagers, because there's such a need there, or that we would have
Yes.
this natural opportunity with our son to, welcome his friends into our home that needed a safe place.
Yeah.
And so we always just thought it was going to be sometime down the road. And as I was having these prayers, I started talking to my husband, and he said, do you have this overwhelming sense of no, like you normally do when we talk about this? And I was like, well, actually, no, like I could do this right now. And so
He's
he's like, I
like,
think,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, what?
yeah. And so he was like, well, let's pray about it, which, I'm like, let's go, let's do this. And he was,
That's
he
how
was
I
ready.
am. I
He was
dive
ready to be
in.
wise. Yes. He was like, let's be wise about it. Let's both not talk about it. We're going to pray about it for a week and then come back together to see what the Lord has told us.
Okay, good idea.
Well, in true Russell and Ashley fashion, by the end of that week, we had already signed up with an agency, been fingerprinted, and started our background check. So we didn't wait the full week for the Lord to tell us what to do. And we just
Yeah.
decided, like, he had opened this door. We were going to walk through it, and we were going to keep walking until he put up a roadblock or we had kids in our home. And
Hmm.
so I think like 5 months later, we had our first placement of two boys in our home. And it has just been rapid fire roller coaster ever since.
Wow. So what happened then with those two boys?
We knew that we were actually a short-term placement for those boys. So
Okay.
we took them, we were about an hour and a half from their home, and then their sister was about 2 hours away. And so
Okay.
they were working on a kinship placement that would take all of them. And they just had to do some paperwork that was going to take some time. And so we were just a temporary stopgap until they could be reunited with their sister. And they're our victory story, I always say, because their mom was in prison, their dads were not around, and they said, these kids are going to be up for adoption soon.
Wow.
Um, and they're back with their mom.
Wow.
And so, I mean, no matter what they tell you at the beginning, like you never know what God can
Oh,
do. And
so
so
true.
it's been so sweet. For the month that we had those boys, I made a book and took tons of pictures, and we had great experiences. And they hung on to them. They went from a lot of different homes and got separated, and it was really sad afterwards. But the victory of that is that their mom worked really hard to get her life back on track, and she got all of her kids back. And I'd put my phone number in that book, and a number called me one day, and I just happened to pick up the phone, and she said, is this Ashley? I said, well, yeah. Who is this? And she just started crying.
Mm.
And I was like, who is this? And she said, this is mom. And I just wanted you to know that they're back with me. And thank you so much for loving them. I could tell that when they were with you that you loved them. And so I got to know her and talk with her, and we've seen the boys at football games, and we've been able to bridge that relationship since then. It's been
Wow.
so beautiful. And so even though we got just a little bit of time with them, they're forever a part of our lives and
That's
forever a part of our
amazing.
family.
That's incredible. And so then that led you how long after that until you received your next placement?
I think it was like 3 days. So we had
Wow.
sent
Yeah.
them off to another home, and about 3 days later got a call.
A lot of
And
times
I
we get a call
said,
the same day.
yes, that's very normal. I thought, man,
Yeah.
3 days, they must not want me. I must have been a bad
Yeah.
foster mom for that month, because they're like, oh, you'll get a call immediately. So it was about 3 days. And the funny thing was, is I really didn't want kids in diapers. I didn't want babies. I was like, give them to me at least 2 years old. And then till we had originally said 8 or 9, our son was 6 at the time. And our first placement, the boys were older. And we thought, well, maybe we'll try and keep the birth order the same, because we just kind of found some issues with our son because he's a very typical firstborn. And so he really
Mm.
struggled not having that firstborn position. And so we're like, well, we'll do about 2 to 5. And they called and they said, well, we have one that's almost 2 and 4 years old. And I was like, what do you mean by almost 2? And they were like, well, 18 months, 17 months. They would start counting backwards. He actually turned 17 months the day that he came to live with us. And my daughter had just turned 4. And so they were, the polar opposite. They said, oh, these kids will be back with their mom very soon. This is kind of one of those cut and dry cases. She just has to do XYZ. I would maybe plan on 4 to 6 months. And so that was our plan.
Yeah. To just bridge the gap
And
again.
yeah, just that was what we were called to do. We had no intention of adopting, but we
Okay.
were open to it if we ever got there. We knew God was calling us to foster, and we wanted to be able to bridge that gap and just be a safe place and allow our home to be a refuge in the meantime.
Thank you so much for all you do. And thank you for being here on my
Oh,
podcast.
thanks for having me. I appreciate you letting me tell my story.
Yes, I hope it inspires and encourages so many. And additionally, they can find you for your earrings at
No such string.com.
So exciting. I love your earrings. Can you show everyone?
Oh, yeah. These are the fun ones I'm wearing today.
Yes, so cute. I have to get me a pair. Thanks again
Thanks
for
again for
being
having
here.
me. You're awesome.
What was
I
that? I'm
appreciate it.
sorry.
I said thanks again for having me. You're
Yes.
awesome and I appreciate it.
Yes. And hopefully together we can continue to fill the gap.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for choosing to be here with us today.
For more, you can visit us at our website or find us on social media.